Hey folks, welcome into Pro Football Ireland. As we roll through June, we're almost able to say we're a month away from some sort of football. And as we roll through our team focus, we had focus on the Broncos last week. We had let's go on a few days ago for the Chargers. We got a look at the Chiefs in the AFC West. BJ Kissel, who is the CEO and founder of KCSN, the KC Sports Network. BJ, it's good to chat to you again, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you both having me on. Excited about this. Always fun to talk a little football with you. Just got to get creative about it here when we're recording in the middle of June. Not a ton of things going on right now, but yeah, it's calm before the storm. Got about a month left, and then things start to get busy again until always seems like season just goes through the NFL draft, and then it actually slows down for a couple months.
But definitely for you guys, it's busy for a long time, and I think it'll be like that for a long time as well. Chiefs fans will want to hear that. Loads of Chiefs fans in Ireland, and obviously people in the UK, Europe listening to this. Let's very quickly dive in just for the last few months for you guys. I mean, I was in Phoenix and I seen the amount of Chiefs fans that were there just that weekend, but more so, I remember when Mahomes went down injured at the half. I'm presuming you were there, but just from then to now, it's just been an incredible journey for this Chiefs team. And when you think, BJ, that they can't take it to the next level, they do. And it makes you think what that next level now is,
Yeah, I think it's been a crazy ride. I think anyone that has, younger fans, especially on the social media world that we all kind of live in now, people just kind of expect or assume that, the Chiefs have always been good. And for the diehard Chiefs fans that have been, going to games since they were kids like myself, this stretch, this golden age of Chiefs football right now, it's trying to remind all of us not to take this for granted, that having one of the best coaches of all time, one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and one of the best tight ends of all time. And that's not just being a biased Chiefs fan. That is when you step back and look at the history of football in the NFL 20 years from now, the way that people talk about Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid are going to be in the conversation with the best to ever do it. And to have three of them at the same time is just a crazy, amazing thing for Chiefs fans. And this is a fan base that, we have the NFL record for most consecutive playoff losses in a row with 9 games. We went to the playoffs and it was one and done. And so it's a constant reminder here not to take these things for granted. But yeah, it seems like if everybody stays healthy, they're going to be good for a long time. I think it's kind of widely known now, but it's great to see the maturation process, not just for him as a player, but for fans and NFL media types to get kind of more knowledgeable on how special Patrick Mahomes is from the mental side of what he can do playing football, and not just the crazy throws and the highlights, that he really does have a special mental acuity to play the position that is kind of like that counterpoint in Andy Reid, and that they see the game in the same way. And it's that mental side that gives them answers to anything that they will see defensively, that allows them to have the success that they're having now. And so to answer your original question, it's special. Just got to always, as Chiefs fans, got to remind ourselves that this isn't normal, and that to not take it for granted, because it things like this don't happen in the NFL, and they do every once in a while. And it's a very lucky, special fan base that gets to experience it.
You've had made amazing memories, Super Bowl memories and lifetime memories as part of the Chiefs organization, and now part as the KC Sports Network. Which one has been more memorable for you, or have they both been different in different ways?
They've both been special in different ways. I'm not going to say that, I spent 6 years working for the team as their official team reporter, was on the sideline for the Super Bowl win in Miami. There's nothing that's going to take away how special that is. And above anything else, I got to know exactly the work and the dedication and what it takes to earn the right to be down there on the sideline and to get those experiences. It's hard for me now to miss them and all of that. It's been 3 years or 3 seasons since I had been there, but I know, I have friends that are still there, that still work there. And I know the amount of time the dedication, the effort that it takes to not just get to experience those things. Those people earn the right to be there and to get the Super Bowl rings. They just got the rings the other day, and I was on Instagram, and everybody, I saw a bunch of people I'm friends with that work there. And so it was just pictures of the new ring, just like 20 in a row of everybody. And it's special. And I'm so happy for them to get to experience those different things. For myself now, it's a whole different thing. I'm not gonna say there's anything more exciting than standing on the sideline of an NFL game. But from this feels pretty cool standpoint, I get to sit and watch the games with my kids. I'm going to get a chance to do that this year. I'm actually going to go to all the home games with my kids, taking myself off camera to run a little bit more of the business stuff this year. So I get to experience those things. My kids are 8 and 6 years old right now. And so I get to be with them a lot more and share my love for the Chiefs and going to Chiefs games and watching them just like I did with my dad growing up. That's what made me a Chiefs fan. It's what made me get into this industry and get into this business. And then I had a job that took me away from being able to share those same things with my kids. And I missed that. And I wanted that. I didn't want to miss those times when they were at a certain age. And so now we get to kind of do that. And that's going to be special. So nothing's going to take away being there and being a part of it. But for me, I couldn't share those with the people that I want to share them with the most. Those were memories for me. That I had to kind of experience on my own with friends and with colleagues. But it gets to a point where you want to share the most important and the best things that you can with your family. And so I'm getting to do that now, and that's special.
Yeah, I have to say, as an Eagles fan, I wasn't too happy seeing the rings all over social media the other day. Just had to close my eyes and ignore it. But speaking of the Eagles, we have AJ Brown, we have Smith, and other teams have a plethora of wide receiver options. The Dolphins, as you know, have Tyreek Hill, they have Jalen Waddle. Yep. And it seems, I would say, looking at the Chiefs, that Mahomes' obvious big connection is Kelsey. But do you think that they rely too much on that connection? And do you think they need to expand the wide receiver room and bring in kind of like a big wide receiver name?
That's a great question. It's probably the most discussed question amongst Chiefs fans. It has been this entire offseason. I'm not going to doubt that Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, Patrick Mahomes, and the talent they have in the wide receiver room right now, that's enough for them to go and win. I think Patrick Mahomes can make everybody better. They could do it. The margin of error, this is the nicest way I can say it. The margin of error becomes that much bigger if you can go sign DeAndre Hopkins. So there is a faction of Chiefs fans that are like, we don't need him to go win. And I agree with them. And then there are the Chiefs fans who say, we need him to win because then we don't have so much pressure on Kelsey and all of these young guys like a Skyy Moore and a Richie James, a guy that's played at this level, has some NFL experience, but you're asking a lot from guys that have the ability to do things, but have never yet proved it at the NFL level. Now, the coaches and the players, they know before fans do if somebody's ready to take what they've done on a field and actually translate that to the NFL level. If Andy Reid watching these guys, like, you know what, he's ready, he's going to be huge for us. He knows more than what we do at this point. But for myself, to count on Skyy Moore to be better than he's ever been, to count on Kadarius Toney to be healthy and better than he's ever been, to count on Richie James to be better than he's ever been, to count on Justin Ross, which is the hot ticket name locally. He's done really well during, OTAs. You ask some Chiefs fans, they think he's going to be a number 3 wide receiver. He was on the practice squad last year. You're just asking a lot from guys that haven't proved it yet at that level. Again, not that they can't, they just haven't done it yet. So that's what gives me pause for concern is, hey, we're asking multiple guys to do things they haven't done before and a 33, 34-year-old Travis Kelce to stay healthy. So I'll never doubt them. But if you're asking me, I would absolutely sign DeAndre Hopkins and bring him into this mix. I think it's kind of silly for people that think that they shouldn't. If they honestly look in the mirror and say, I don't think he makes us better. They didn't watch any highlights of DeAndre Hopkins last year. And a lot of the highlights were showing how well he can do with the very inaccurate quarterback throwing him the football. So to average over 100 yards with Kyler Murray last year was pretty impressive. And DeAndre Hopkins with Patrick Mahomes would be a whole lot of fun to watch, see how that translates. But trust Brett Veach, trust them if they need him to bring him in. You got to figure out practice habits. Can he come in and have the same kind of work ethic as the rest of the guys on the team? Those are things that only the scouts, the coaches, and the players would know. But from a talent perspective, give me that dude. Absolutely. That would be amazing.
There's the TikTok reel. If he does go in between now and this coming out, which is only a couple of days, but if they get him, the internet's going to go crazy. It'll be interesting to see, man. One guy, BJ,
they might have to, yeah, they might have to wait for the Chris Jones deal to get done to figure out how much money they have left over. That could
it
be
feels like if anyone
a
would have done it's the Chiefs, you know, like they'll just get it done. They'll find a way to see if the pennies or Patrick Mahomes will just cut that contract again and just spread it across again, which is great to see, you know, just from a team element as well. So time will tell.
I'm not surprised he hasn't signed yet. I don't think he wanted, I mean, at this point in his career, I don't think DeAndre Hopkins wanted to go to a mandatory minicamp with someone. And at this point, you've got 5-6 weeks before training camp. There's no great reason to sign right now. This is where a lot of the coaches and a lot of the PR staffs, everybody goes on vacation, and they're not going to sign a player when your support staff that has to bring that player in, get his contract signed, get the media availability set up. It's like that behind the scenes stuff of the machinations of how those things work can tell you, is this going to happen right now? I'd be really surprised if any NFL team would sign DeAndre Hopkins. You sign him a few days before training camp starts. Otherwise, you have a bunch of your staff that this is the only downtime of the year that they can really go take vacations, spend time with their families. If you can wait, which you can in a situation like this, there's nothing happening. Players are not in the buildings. They're away from everybody. It's going to be right before camp that DeAndre Hopkins would sign, would be my best guess for an organization that thinks through those types of things. And the Chiefs are definitely one of the teams that thinks through those things.
It came very obvious to me, BJ, on opening night that I was not going to see Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes up close because they were being mobbed. So I speaking to Harrison Butker, but one guy that really impressed me was George Karlaftis. And obviously, it's the whole European element for us, but to have the first season that he had and that he had, and people are now talking, can he be the guy that could replace Frank Clark? What sort of jump do you think he could have in the second season? Because the potential is really there, BJ.
Yeah, I laugh because I was the one from the moment he being George Karlaftis showed up in Kansas City. I had projected him to break the Chiefs franchise record for sacks by a rookie. It was set by Derek Thomas back in 1989. I believe it was 10.5 sacks. And I thought Karlaftis was going to end up with more than that, mainly because of the tenacity he plays with. And most sacks now at the NFL level, it's not like college where you just see the defensive end beat the tackle up the field, beat him around the edge and get a sack. The NFL level, it's a second move, it's a third move, it's the quarterback scrambling outside the pocket. The defensive end sees him, brings him down. It's not just somebody gets bull rushed, some NFL tackle just getting run over. It's not normally how it happens. It's the second, third effort that really brings those plays down. And that's what George Karlaftis was known for, was his ability to not give up on a play and to continue playing hard. And so for that reason, I thought he would rack up a lot of just like the 5-second long sacks, if that makes sense. He's not like beating a guy like you would see from, a Nick Bosa or one of those types where he's just physically beating someone. But I thought he could rack up a bunch of extra sacks. And the crazy thing about his season is that we saw him come on late in the year. And for a player that started as a rookie week 1, played a ton of snaps, normally you run into some kind of rookie wall where these guys slow down, they get beat up. They don't play this many games in college. They don't play this long in college. Training camps with Andy Reid are not easy relative to other camps right now. I laugh because once I said to a former player who played like 20 years ago, how tough do you think Andy Reid's camps are? And they looked at me like I was crazy. They're like, do you realize what we did back in our day where they had 2-a-days in pads doing hitting drills to the ground for like 6 weeks? So don't ever make that mistake. Anybody listening, if you ever talk to an NFL player from 20 years ago, don't ask them about how difficult things are for current players. It's gotten a lot easier relative on the players than it was 20 years ago. But yeah, I believe George Karlaftis has a great chance to have a great second year. His entire offseason to get ready to play football instead of getting ready to do exercise drills at the combine or pro days to try and get drafted. He's actually spending this time getting ready to play football, not be good at exercising. So I believe George Karlaftis should have a great second year. I thought the most impressive thing were just that the majority of his, sacks came late in the year. He came on, had like 5 or 6 sacks in the last third of the season, which I thought was the most impressive thing for a player that should have been hitting the rookie wall. And instead, he was starting to play his best football down the stretch.
Most people probably remember the biggest off-season loss for the Chiefs was Orlando Brown going to the Bengals. I genuinely think that he's the missing piece the Bengals need to win a Super Bowl. So do you think the Chiefs should have tried a little bit more to keep him as their starting tackle to help protect Mahomes?
I think it worked out for the Chiefs. They ended up getting Juwan Taylor, who I think is a player that better fits athletically what Andy Reid would like to do with getting those offensive linemen out in space, getting them running around. Orlando Brown is a very good player. Do not get me wrong. Orlando Brown was humongous and wasn't the most fleet of foot. He wasn't the quickest tackle, had a lot of power, had a lot of strength. You ask Andy Reid, you go back to even Eric Fisher when they drafted him, the things that Fisher and Mitch Schwartz would do, getting out in space and running and doing all those things, I think it better fits what Andy Heck, the offensive line coach, Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator, and obviously what Coach Reid would like for those guys to do. I think Orlando Brown is a perfect fit for the Bengals because Orlando Brown gets beat with quicker players when the quarterback's holding onto the ball, and sometimes Patrick Mahomes has tendency to hold on to the ball, or he can drift in the pocket and hang on to it a little bit longer, or scramble around, do all those crazy things. And that doesn't lend itself well to a player like Orlando Brown, who would prefer that the quarterback get the ball out quickly because he's not going to move real quick to either mirror a defensive end or stop like a rush up the middle. So Orlando Brown going to Joe Burrow, who gets the ball out extremely quickly, is going to be a good fit for them. He's not going to give up the same kind of pressures and the numbers that you saw in Kansas City, where, during the regular season, Andrew Wiley and Orlando Brown Jr. gave up more pressures than any other pair of tackles in the league. Now, you look at those numbers and they just tell part of the story, because a lot of it, Patrick Mahomes scrambling around, what constitutes a pressure, who's at fault, all those kinds of things. But just looking at it from 50,000 foot view, I think Orlando Brown Jr. got paid, which is great for him because there was a chance that wasn't going to happen when he kind of bet on himself and it wasn't looking like it was going to work out. Worked out for him. I think it worked out for the Chiefs. I literally think this is one of those scenarios in which I think everybody ended up in a really good spot. Juwan Taylor got paid. Chiefs got an athletic tackle. Orlando Brown Jr. got paid and ended up in a system that is going to not necessarily highlight the things that he struggled with in the way that the Chiefs offense sometimes did, having Mahomes hold on to the ball as long as he did.
BJ, I knew probably on the Friday of the Bucks Seahawks game in Munich last year that you guys are going to be coming over to Germany, and we were flying out on the Monday morning, driving to the airport, and there was a big, I think it was Travis Kelce, and it said, "See you soon, Germany." I thought, oh my God, who has put this up? And then obviously a few hours before it was released, we got the email, couldn't say anything, and we seen the Dolphins, and we thought, what a game for a start. I'm presuming that you guys might be over it. You said to Michaela there, but you're going to go to games and with your kids, which is fantastic. I will say, even just as a fan, that like I enjoyed Munich more than the Super Bowl last year. I thought the atmosphere was 10 out of 10. Are there plans to come over? I may have heard whispers about things going on beforehand.
Yeah, we're trying to. So we talked to a couple of groups that are helping get people over there. Talking to one of the Germany Chiefs podcasts and trying to partner up with them and get over there. We've got a lot of hosts and a lot of people that I need to take care of and take over there with us. Myself, my wife, we would love to come, but we're not going to make that happen unless we can bring all our pals with us. So it's all of us or none of us. It's kind of the situation that we're in behind the scenes, kind of talking out loud through some of these behind the scenes decisions, but trying to make it work. But there would be 8 of us coming. So if we can't make it work for all 8 of us to come, then we're not going to send 2 or 4. Again, it's everybody or nobody, and it's not the shortest trip. So I would love to. Heard nothing but great things. I've been a part of a lot of meetings about things that are going on over there. Things to get people over there. A lot of cool things, a lot of great people involved. We got a little bit of time to still try to make it work, but we will absolutely be there if we can. I know we all want to.
I'll say a prayer. Das Kingdom. Shout out to Mr. Jensen if you're listening to this.
I love
Yep.
the whole it's all or nothing, it's all of us or none of us. I love that kind of camaraderie.
Yeah.
Most teams, if they had Patrick Mahomes at quarterback, they'd be confident in beating anyone in the league. But going into the new season, is there any team in particular that would make your confidence waver just a little bit that the Chiefs could beat?
I think I'm always gonna be confident when they step out on the field. It's funny because we joke about this locally and even amongst all of us at KCSN that you ask me what I think the Chiefs' record's going to be. It's gonna be, I think they'll go 14-3, 13-4, something like that. But then throughout the year, it's like, do you think the Chiefs are going to win this week? I would say 17-0. I would pick them to win every week, but I know it's not going to happen. And it's because injuries. I mean, obviously it's the low hanging, like easiest thing. If everyone stays healthy, there's probably 3 games on the schedule where the margin of error is the Chiefs can't play mid. If another team plays their best, then they lose. I think there's probably 3 teams on their schedule where they have to play at least average, if not above average, to win. It's the teams that everybody would kind of know. It's the Bengals, it's the Bills, the Eagles being on their schedule, and then the Chargers are kind of right there. If the Chargers play really well and the Chiefs don't, there's a chance the Chiefs could lose. Now, if the Chiefs play their best football game, I don't think there's anybody that can beat them. Because Patrick Mahomes, they're just going to score too many points. The margin of error for an opposing offense to have to keep up with what they can do on that side is so difficult. And then you add in a Chris Jones who could just make his 2 or 3 game-changing type plays a game. That creates the margin of error on that side of the ball where they can't overcome it. And that's as good as Jalen Hurts is. You have the number 1 offense, the number 1 defense for the Eagles. I'm sorry. But it's that superstar difference of Mahomes just takes the margin of error and just pulls to his side and makes it to where your opposing quarterback, Jalen Hurts, cannot make a single mistake the entire game, on top of Chris Jones can't just make one of those big time plays. Or now all these young guys they have on defense, they were all rookies last year. Now they all have experience. They're all going to come back and be so much better with your Brian Cook, your Trent McDuffie, your Karlaftis, Josh Williams, Jalen Watson. You have all these young defensive backs that played so well as rookies. Now they're going to be that much better. Again, I use margin of error a lot, and they're going to win.
Finally,
Sorry.
You've psyched me up there, man. It just like finally, obviously, I support a team in the AFC West. The AFC is stacked, never mind the West.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to have teams this year that are very highly regarded drop out. Is there one team that you think could be on that bubble at the minute? Like personally for me, and I've said it in different podcasts, I don't see the Broncos getting any more than 7 or 8 wins in the West at the minute. The Chargers are very interesting, and that's where I look at it. But it's gonna be a mad season, man.
Yeah, the Chargers are always going to be there because the talent's there. It's just, can Coach Staley get the most out of that group? I think last year J.C. Jackson did not play well. He especially did not play well in the games against the Chiefs. They got banged up, and injuries are always a thing, but they've got Bosa, they've got Khalil Mack, they've got Derwin James. I mean, they have superstars on that side of the ball. I think the Broncos, it's 100% on Sean Payton. How good of a coach is he? He got paid to go and try and fix Russell Wilson, who's a better player than he showed last year. It's somewhere in between what we saw in Seattle and what we saw last year. But that Denver is interesting just because it's 100% dependent upon how good is Sean Payton going to be at this. And then honestly, the Raiders can be scary. I think Jimmy Garoppolo just kind of solidifies them. And it's just very similar to what Alex Smith did when he first came to Kansas City. I don't think they're going to be as good as the Chiefs were because they don't have Andy Reid. But just, he's not going to be the reason that you lose a football game, but not necessarily going to, if all things are even, going to go lead you and will your entire team to a victory. I think he's just a very above average, solid starting quarterback. But Max Crosby is a problem. And if Tyree Wilson pans out, having 2 of those dudes is going to be a problem. It's what they hoped Chandler Jones would kind of provide. He was later into his career. We've seen it with the Chargers with, Bosa and Mack, and they've been injured at different times. But if Crosby is healthy and Tyree Wilson pans out for the Raiders, that's a really good tandem that they've got. And it's about the only thing that could slow down the Chiefs and that offense is disruption. you get in his face, you make him move around. It's the only chance you have of beating Patrick Mahomes. So each team's got something fun. I would be interested to see how Kellen Moore does as a play caller for the Chargers. I know that they wanted to throw it around a little bit more last year. And you talk to their fans, they weren't thrilled with Joe Lombardi's play calling, considering some of the weapons that Justin Herbert has to throw to. And now you add Quentin Johnson in the mix. You got another Mike Williams type who's just a problem down the field and winning those big 50-50 balls.
BJ, really appreciate your time at KC Sports Network. Look, hopefully, please God, you get the Frankfurt. I'm sure we'll see some there as well from the crew. And look, at least at that point, there's a 30 to 50% chance you'll be in Vegas anyway in February. So enjoy the season. And look, thanks very much for your time. I know it's a busy time, BJ. We definitely appreciate it. Chiefs fans here appreciate it as well. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Appreciate it. I'm going to call Daniel. We get this set up.